And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Wendy Rose Williams, who has previously been on the podcast to talk about her two near-death experiences, guardian angels, guides, and more. Today she returns to talk about how she channels Mary Magdalene. Wendy, thank you for joining me and welcome back.
Oh, Jeff, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I don't even know if we even talked about your channeling the last two times you've been here. When did this start?
It started when a spiritual teacher and then various psychic friends started telling me, oh my goodness, did you know you're supposed to be a channel? And I'm kind of looking at them thinking, I'm not really sure I know what you're talking about. And then as it started getting more and more specific, as I began working with a spiritual teacher, she was able to see that I had a soul contract, meaning I had made an agreement before I was born. And who I was to channel was a huge surprise to me. And Jeff, I'll be honest, it was too much for me. I was reticent to step to the plate. I thought that's too big. I don't want to do it wrong because the three individuals that I have the privilege of channeling are Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and Yeshua ben Joseph, who became known as Jesus. And it's like, oh my goodness, could I not have like some obscure river god? Because my self-confidence wasn't quite um, centered enough or big enough for that. Because as I said, I really wanted to do it well. I really wanted to do it right. Usually when we hear ego, we think, oh, too much ego, out of control ego. But your ego has to be balanced in both directions. It's your self-confidence too. So what I did was I went for formal training because I thought, my goodness, if I have the privilege of doing this, and it was quite a journey, it took several years to realize I really was meant to do it, and to go get that training. I found the perfect person. And the training, to my surprise, I didn't know what it was going to be like to formally train to become a channel. I was thinking maybe she does some channeling, gives me some coaching, and then I do some channeling and she corrects me. I don't know how this is supposed to go. What's the teaching methodology with this? Instead, we spent 2 years doing healings for me and balancing my ego. Because again, I was too reticent with it. And that led to a lot of health issues because I wasn't stepping to the plate and doing the channeling, which again, I had a contract to do and was supposed to be doing. So that's how it started coming up.
Well, that's fascinating that you said that you were balancing your ego. In what way was it out of balance?
The ways that it was out of balance, I was petrified of public speaking where I could not see the audience. And that meant I couldn't fulfill my purpose because I was meant to be able to do podcasts. I was meant to be able to do radio or whatever other things that Spirit brought up and wanted to use me to be in service. I was always fine, one-on-one, groups, face-to-face, phone to phone. But what came up was a plethora of past lives where I had been harmed, threatened, tortured, imprisoned, killed, you name it, tough outcomes for speaking my truth, for being an oracle, for being a channel, for being a spiritual teacher. And also, my family had been harmed multiple times to try and get me to not do this sort of work. So that's what was stuck. And I actually developed throat issues. Some people lose their voice when you're going through this sort of a cleansing process and healing it. And I did the opposite. I ended up with this big thyroid nodule, which was the pent up energy from not channeling and not speaking.
You mentioned that you were going to be not in front of an audience. So does that mean that you are trance channeling?
That's a great question. I do a combination. Often when I start the channeling, I am doing it as a conscious channel. And that's why your ego has to be especially balanced. So you're not filtering or giving the message the way you want to, or think will be more pleasing, or for any sort of agenda. So I can do conscious channeling where I, by agreement, I'm moving partially out of my body and inviting Magdalene in and to speak and giving her the use of my voice box and my energy to speak from my heart on her behalf. But it often, as it progresses, it's subtle, but you may notice the energy change. You may notice the voice change. My voice gets, because I've heard the recordings and have been surprised. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my voice gets sweeter, slower, kinder, wiser. It's an ascended master speaking. So there's subtle changes like that.
Do you have to go through some type of procedure to be able to do it, like meditate first or something?
That's a great question too. Um, it I used to have to go through a much bigger process, but because I meditate so often and because I have a spiritual practice every day, at this point it can be pretty much instantaneous. For instance, I can be having a conversation with someone one on one, either in person or on the phone, and all of a sudden something will just pop out of my mouth that's rather wise, profound, loving, so to the point. And I just kind of go, thank you. Thank you, Magdalene. I know who it is. I know the different energies, and I didn't know that that was going to happen. So it can be spontaneous like that too.
What are some of the most profound things that you've ever heard Mary channel through you?
Some of the biggest surprises have been the specifics about her life, because I'm not a biblical scholar. I mean, certainly I went to Sunday school as a church and would describe myself as being sort of a casual Christian, certainly believe in God, Yeshua believed Jesus was his son and that he came to deliver a message of love, and that God is love, but it didn't go a lot further than that. And I'll tell you the truth, and it's a painful truth. I was brought up to believe that Mary Magdalene was a penitent whore, and nothing could be further from the truth. So that was part of my reticence too. And I also could sense as I started working with her, I could sense so much victim energy, so much martyrdom energy. It's like, this is not comfortable. Do I really want to get involved with this? Am I really meant to balance this up and help with this and lift this up? So that was part of the my hesitation also.
If you're okay with it, would you like to channel for us now?
Absolutely. Hello, Jeff. We are ready. We're going to have Wendy keep her eyes closed. She can do it eyes open, but it is more confusing to people who they're speaking with. So we'll just simply have her keep her eyes closed. We're ready.
Mary, thank you for joining us. How did you locate Wendy to be a vessel for your channeling?
Well, that was very easy because we worked together on the other side before she was born. And because she has a past life as me, which some channels certainly do, but not all, it's not necessary to have a past life as me to be a wonderful channel for me. But that made it easier because we are more intimately involved.
Can you explain a little more about how Wendy had a past life as you?
Yes. So the concept is that our souls are eternal. Certainly, we can stay at home. We can stay at home with God, with the light, with the divine, whatever your belief system is. But when we do that, we are not progressing as rapidly as possible as a soul. So most souls choose to incarnate many times. many places, many dimensions, can be on Earth, on other planets, can be in other dimensions such as the fairy kingdom, just anything you can think of and anything you haven't thought of yet. So there's just that cycle of reincarnation going on.
All right, here's the question that probably everybody wants to know, and that is, were you and Jesus actually married?
In my timeline, when Wendy was living and chose to take on that challenging role as Mary Magdalene, yes, she was married to Yeshua. And I'd like to make the distinction. Think of these perhaps as play runs, these lifetimes, these timelines that repeat. So you're probably familiar with A Star is Born. That is the most remade um, movie in Hollywood. I believe it's been made 5 times with different people starring in it. So different people have chosen to be Magdalene. So there are many timelines of that story of Yeshua ben Joseph and all the players in his life, and there's subtle differences in them. So we're going to speak specifically of Wendy's memories as me as Magdalene.
Is it possible then that in one of my own timelines, I could have also been Jesus?
Absolutely. Yes, and it is never a competition. People get confused and think, we'll take the example of Marilyn Monroe. There are many people who recall a lifetime as Marilyn Monroe, and it's not required that they look like her now or that they have her acting, singing, dancing ability. There's a resonance from it, there's an energy from it, and there are going to be synchronicities. Most people simply know. Doesn't mean they ever speak about it publicly. And honestly, the more well known the life is, the harder it is to speak about a past life as a famous individual, historic figure, biblical figure, because the stakes get higher because you just attract a lot of opinions. And if you're on a life path to let go of what other people think, which is the life path 33, guess what life path Wendy is on? Uh, um, a lot of these big ones tend to come up because that's where her soul needs to progress, to know her own truth, know her own discernment, follow her own heart, and not need to prove anything to anyone, and to also not be taken down by opinions that are sometimes very kindly shared and other times not.
You mentioned the number 33, and I think that number is also big with masonry. Is there any connection between the two?
With the Masons, I'm not aware of that. You may very well be right, but 33 is also known as the Jesus number. And because he was 33 when he chose to go to the cross. Mother Mary is also coming in. His mother is here, so she may have some things to say also. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but Mother Mary's energy signature, the way it shows up in Wendy, there's a single tear that comes down from her, her right eye, which she cannot control, and that is Mother Mary arriving. So she's also happy to answer questions for the audience or about her son's life.
Mother Mary, was Jesus's conception immaculate or natural?
It was immaculate. I trained for many, many lifetimes, as did my mother before me, Anna, Jesus's grandmother. Our family knew how to do Immaculate Conception. It is done by raising your vibration to a very high state while still being able to stay tethered to the human body. Yes, it was. It truly was an immaculate conception. I am forever grateful to Joseph for having married what looked like a wayward um, young girl who was pregnant and not married. Let me tell you, that was not looked on kindly in our time. And he was a wonderful earthly father to and for Yeshua, and wonderful husband to me, and just forever grateful to Joseph.
Is it true that you had a sister that also had a child through Immaculate Conception?
I'm searching. Okay, this is interesting because sometimes information will come through that Wendy doesn't know. It comes through as a pure trance channeling. Um, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't answer that question for you. It may be true, but that one she needs to know. She needs to know consciously, and she simply doesn't know. Oh, okay, I'm telling her to back up the bus. She can simply ask me. So Wendy's asking Mother Mary, was that true? Yes, it is. Jeff, it's true because of the family lineage, why that was possible. And Anna, Jesus's grandmother, she lived for hundreds of years in that one human body. There was much going on in that family that was quite remarkable to be able to birth the Son of God.
Where and what was Jesus doing for the first 30 years of his life?
He was doing uh, incredible amounts of studying, learning, traveling, having experiences. Because, yes, there were those missing years where it's not known where he was after the early teen years. There is public record of him just astonishing those in in the temples with his knowledge and his comprehension and understanding, and the depth of purity that he would bring as they were reading scrolls and studying things that you would not expect a young teen boy to know. So kind of the record kind of stops at that point and then is quiet until he reappears back on the stage around the age of 30. And that's because he was traveling. He traveled to Egypt and was studying and learning so many things about working with energy in a body. He was learning healing techniques while being in a human body and being able to channel and bring forward that healing. He did the same thing in India. He traveled to many places, and that's why there's part of this record and this interest, even though people may not be, quote, Jewish, may not be Christian, may not be Catholic. Please let go of those labels because they're limiting for this conversation. So he was traveling many places and just preparing to step onto the world stage, which he would begin to do with the healings, with the miracles, with the public speaking that he would do.
After Jesus was taken down from the cross, did you and Mary Magdalene leave Israel and go somewhere else?
We did. It was not safe for us to be there because of our association. It was not known that Magdalene was Yeshua's wife. We purposefully kept that very quiet for her safety and for their children's safety. Um, but we were there at the cross because we helped get him home. We helped him travel back to his father, and interestingly, there was a bit of a family argument going on because he wanted to die fully conscious. And as his mother and as his wife, I cannot tell you what that was like to endure. So we were working to convince him this does not need to be a 3-day process. which is what it normally took to die on the cross. It was a very slow torture. It was a very slow suffocation type of death. So we were working to convince him that he could do everything he came to do and wanted to do to assist mankind and go on up to the light. So his body was taken down and was put in the tomb, as you know, and that is the story of Good Friday, of Easter, of him being risen. Those stories are essentially correct.
Will Jesus be returning anytime soon?
He already has. He said, and that is quoted correctly in the Bible in multiple places, anything that I can do, you are capable of doing that and more. Meaning, we all have that energy within us. The return of Christ, it's the Christ consciousness that is talked about. And he's here within all of us, encouraging us, supporting us, loving us. He's here as a world teacher, and that he's helping everyone rise up. And that is why so many people are able to sense his energy and are shocked and surprised. And it does not matter what religion they are, it does not matter where they live, it does not matter whether they're even aware of who he was and what he did when he walked the earth 2000 plus years ago. He's a world teacher. He has such a gentle yet unique yet strong energy. It's such a balanced, beautiful, balanced masculine and feminine energy within him, because the divine masculine is not about might. It is not about weapons. It is not about war. It is not about overcoming. It is quite the opposite. It is about being loving and peaceful and kind and being vulnerable and centered and helping others. Uh, Yeshua loved to heal animals. He healed animals as often as he healed people.
Are you currently working with archangels?
Absolutely. Um, we we are the what would you consider the ascended masters, meaning those who did choose a life or lives on earth and then have ascended from that. Absolutely work with the angels, work with the archangels. We work with Pan and the nature spirits. We obviously work with God, and I like to use the term Mother, Father, God, because again, it can be made in many religions or societies of this just male patriarch, and that's become a bit uncomfortable. So again, there's that more balanced energy. So it's however you relate to it. There's no one way. It's what lifts you up. It's what makes you feel happy, peaceful, loving, supported, the best of you. Have your own personal relationship with the divine. And please don't let anyone tell you how to do it or that you're doing it wrong. There's so much guilt, there's so much shame. It is low vibration energy that we're able to, at this point, start to just sweep to the left. The left represents the past. In fact, I'm bringing in a waterfall now. Guilt and shame that do not serve people. Please, let's just let that be washed away, because it's time to rise up into those higher vibrational energies.
Why do so many people suffer, and especially Wendy, who has suffered lifetime after lifetime?
Let's rephrase that. Pain, who said, there's a great quote, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Suffering is getting stuck in the pain and letting it lower your vibration lower and lower and lower. We absolutely can find ways to learn from what was a painful experience, whether it was physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, whatever way something was painful, and we can find ways to not get stuck in this martyrdom, this victimhood of, oh, the worst things always happen to me. Oh, I know it's never going to get any better. Well, if you understand the law of attraction, if you feel that and you're expressing that and you're saying that and expecting that, what do you think you're going to get is the outcome? Because you're powerful. You are such powerful creators, all of you. So you need to be careful of any what is kind of jokingly called stinking thinking by Penny Pierce, the spiritual teacher. And it's a great term. So when you find yourself backsliding into that, just go, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. And you can be kind of funny about it, because the moment you're funny, you just automatically raise your vibration. So you can do the timeout, do the baseball timeout, go, nope, 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 not going there. You can do cancel, clear, delete, because so many of you use those keyboards and those computers so much. So cancel, clear, delete, that just, you're not stuck on the cross. You're not stuck on the cross. And that is not necessary to be holy, to be pure. So we need to find ways to have enjoyment in life, to lighten up. And that's all, again, part of just raising your vibrations. And as you do that, it is so compelling. It just attracts more and better experiences. You're more aligned with your life purpose. You're more centered. You're more grounded. You're more able to do what you came here to do. And you just put out a bigger and bigger beacon of light that will attract others to you. And you can just help more people.
Can we adjust our pre-birth life plans during our incarnation?
Yes, you can. That is a powerful question. I'll give you a couple. It is not cheating. I've been asked that question specifically. Oh my goodness, are we allowed to look in the Akashic records? Are we allowed to learn about past lives? Are we allowed to learn about soul contracts? You are free. It's not a matter of being allowed. That's someone else choosing for you. That's a form of subtle oppression. You are encouraged, you are asked to live your purpose and ask for everything you need to be able to live your purpose and to just live it with a lot of joy. You did not come here to suffer. We see so many people struggling with their bodies, struggling with relationships, finances, with the density of being on earth. And we would just like to offer assistance and help. So learning to ground your energy, clear your energy, it can be 2 minutes a day. I'm not talking about hours of meditation as a big difficult task, but when you find that right spiritual practice for you on a busy day, it can literally be um, 2 minutes a day of just keeping your energy vibrating where it's meant to be and continuing to raise your vibration.
Can you suggest to us ways to connect with the angelic realm?
Absolutely. Do what makes your heart sing. Again, it's all about your vibration, and your vibration is raised by knowing how to ground your energy to Mother Earth, because you do have bodies and you do need to be in a body and enjoy your body and have your body be as healthy as possible. So, learning to ground your energy and to center and learning to balance your masculine and feminine, the two sides of your body. Be in nature, sing, dance, enjoy good food, enjoy laughing with your friends. Take the half hour to have a great conversation with someone. Don't say, oh my gosh, I'm too busy. Just find the ways to do those things that you enjoy. Meditate. Again, be in nature, be outside, enjoy the sun. Feel the healing energy from that beautiful sun and the wind. Be out on the water. Go for a walk. Go for a jog, a run. Whatever feels good to you. Just enjoy it. And the more you do that, the more you will connect to the angelic realm, the more you will raise your vibration, the more you will connect to those wonderful spirit guides.
Does karma exist in the afterlife?
That is such an intriguing question. There's layers to that question. Let's first define what karma is. Karma is simply unbalanced energy. It was meant as a teaching tool to remind a soul, to remind a person or people to get back to something because they'd not completed the lesson and the soul needed to complete that. For instance, forgiveness. Let's say um, you find it hard, it's not your most natural, easiest state to just easily forgive and even get to the point where you realize there really isn't anything to forgive because that's coming from judgment. But that's kind of the pinnacle of it. So but it does take lifetimes, and you typically are going to come in on a path where you're choosing to work on forgiveness, as an example. You're going to have unbalanced energy, you're going to have karma in that area. You're going to find you've likely done some things that other people found pretty unforgivable. So they may then be coming into your life and, shall we say, and this is not meant as sarcasm, returning the favor, because it truly is a favor to get the opportunity to balance up that energy. So there was a belief system at one point that we can transmute all our karma, and that's part of raising our vibration. Yes, that is true. Are you able to ascend and go on home and choose that you're not coming back again, and still have some karma to resolve? Yes. Wendy is an example of that. She had transmuted enough of her karma and raised her vibration enough that she had started. Um, this is funny. I'll put it in earthly terms. She got a promotion. She got a new job at home. She'd worked in the Akashic records for eons, was wonderful at it, loved it, working with people on their book of life. How perfect for a reader, a writer, a past life regressionist. You can see where that would tie right in. But she then had gotten to the point where she had become a guide, a junior guide, and was staying at home and was helping people in that role. But again, using your human terms that you may relate to, she was recruited and asked, "Will you please come back again and take on another Earth life where you can help people, and you do have some karma remaining that you're going to need to transmute." So she came in and she found life pretty challenging right from the get-go, being back in a body. And she knew instinctively once she heard the term. She didn't learn the term early. She was well into her 40s before she first heard the term karma, because she did not grow up in a family that was interested in energy or interested in any of these spiritual topics. So she came to it later. But when she first heard the term and started to understand what it really was, she knew instinctively, oh my goodness, I probably have karma in the area of romantic relationships, because those have been uber challenging. So that's how you know. Typically, your challenge areas are where you have some karma. So just try and have the best sense of humor you can about it. Try and really go for the experiences in those areas, and that's how you'll transmute it and you'll complete the lessons. So yes, there can be karma for those who are on the other side, and I think that is a brilliant question because not many people know that.
Do you have a message for humanity?
Yes. My message is please love yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your loved ones. It's not being selfish to do that, to just do your work, to take care of your temple. You're living in a temple. You chose this body, and many people neglect it, take it too lightly, and have a lot of disease and health challenges as a result from not caretaking their body. And so that's my first message. And the better you feel, the more you're going to be able to live your purpose and help others. So it's Lucille Ball, who many people are familiar with, had a quote where she said, "Love yourself first, and everything else will fall into place." And she was exactly right. And Lucille Ball was not just a madcap, slapdash, over the top, well-known female comedian. She also was a studio owner, and she was actually responsible for saving Star Trek, and helping that get made, and that just brought a lot of good and was ahead of its time in many ways. I can tell you, you're all glued to your cell phones and have your handy dandy cell phones, which really is the world in your hand. It is the internet, is education, is everything that's needed in many, many, many ways, because of those little flip phones that were on Star Trek. So when people come up with things in a science fiction type of way, it's often because we're helping them and we're helping give them those screenplays and those ideas and storytelling, just to do that storytelling. And that's why people's like, oh my goodness, I wonder if I really could create a phone like that. Or Bill Gates' vision, with what became, I'm sorry, I'm mixing two people up. Forgive me for a moment. Um, the Apple Watch.
Steve Jobs.
Thank you. I was going to say, I just went from Bill to Steve. Thank you. Thank you. So, but that vision was there. Both men actually held that vision of all that that could do. And when you think about the amazing technology you have that you can use for health purposes, for spiritual purposes, it's wonderful. And we absolutely, we're not in a time warp on the other side. A lot of people think, oh my goodness, that ascended master lived 500 years ago. They don't know what it's like at all. Guess what? We follow YouTube regularly. We we follow Google. We're there, in all those places. We read all the time. We watch your movies because we need to do so to understand how to relate to you and how to help you. We have to follow the pop culture, and it's fun. It's okay to have fun. That is my message. Why did fun get made into a bad thing, like a guilty pleasure that gets put last? That's my message to you.
Mother Mary, thank you for joining us and giving us all your answers.
Absolutely. It was my absolute pleasure. And thank you, Jeff, for what you're doing. It's very, very appreciated. And we appreciate your listeners coming in too. We want to be of service.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I never know where they're going to go. That's part of the fun of it. And I had to develop trust with that. And that wasn't the easiest thing for me to do. But when I learned, as I said, who I would be channeling and why and what the purpose was, it started to just make so much sense. Occasionally, Saint Germain comes through, Saint Francis, because I love working with animals and do a lot of animal healing, or Archangel Gabriel because of communication and because I'm a writer and a speaker. And it just you just know you learn and know the different energy signatures. And again, to go back to your question, why was so much of the training to learn to balance my energy? I did not want to channel any low vibration energy that might have been passing on by. So I wanted to really make sure that I did my job to raise my vibration and just get really, really solid, to make sure that I was bringing through messages that were on point, that were loving, that were wise, that were appropriate. So,
Before we got together, you mentioned that you downsized your house, and I think you've basically downsized your whole life. Can you tell us how that's been a spiritual journey for you?
yes, I downsized to set myself free. And it's been such an interesting journey. So what happened is my daughter and son-in-law relocated to Eastern Washington, and they purchased a lovely big home. My mother did the same, and my mother and I chose to put. We had a two-family home in the Seattle area. We chose to put that on the market. But as I was seeing what my mom was purchasing and my daughter and son-in-law were purchasing, I'm like, oh my goodness, is this my moment? Because I've been getting a lot of information and a lot of feeling that I was meant to do something really bold and really different, and to really, really downsize and to continue to consider going tiny. And I was thinking at first, oh my gosh, I could never do that. I've got this big china closet I just love. I couldn't give that up. Oh my goodness, what would I do with these, family treasures and family china? And then just more and more, it's like, well, I need to keep an open mind. I need to really think about this. So I started researching. I started looking at some alternative types of tiny homes. I was not particularly drawn. They're great for some people, but it wasn't what was right for me, of the tiny homes on wheels where you're moving it and able to tow it on down the road yourself. That just wasn't me. And I found them too narrow. But over a search of exploring what is some of this alternative housing really like, what I found, I discovered something called park model homes, which are about 12 feet wide, which is kind of more the size of a normal household room. And they're not especially movable. They have to be moved by a professional driver. But they are, I fell in love with park model homes. So again, to make sure that this made sense and was the right move for me, because I was also thinking, my goodness, I do need a home office. Where would I fit a home office? Is that even possible in a one bedroom, one bath house? Where can I do that so that I can continue to work with clients? So I continue to have a quiet place to write and edit and podcast, etc. Where do you do that in 399 square feet, which is the legal definition of a park model? But here's a little secret. The 399 does not count any loft space. So it's actually much larger if there's substantial lofts in it. And there also can be some very clever storage in them. So that's what I started embracing. And then the final check, as the former traditional home was being sold, I thought I better go rent something that's the closest to it to make sure and see, do my things really fit? Can I pare it down enough? And the answer's been yes. So I'm in this delightful lakefront cabin rental. Didn't see that one coming. Didn't see the move to Idaho coming. I'm just over the Idaho border. But again, there's been so much angelic assistance. I didn't know you can plan your own estate sale. Usually, we think of an estate sale. Well, goodness, that's something I do when I'm the executor for a will, and I'm doing that for parent, grandparent, whomever, spouse, whomever that's passed on. Guess what? You can do your own estate sale and clear out so many things from your life. And the more I cleared out, Jeff, the lighter I felt, the better I felt, the healthier I felt. I found some wonderful treasures. I made sure to keep the sweet, sentimental, things that my daughters made for me in grade school, and made a little box of those. I found a jar to put like all the fun concert tickets in. You don't want to throw away all your memories, but you can find a way to downsize them and take what's meaningful with you. And I also found, because I had a 2,200 square foot home, which is the average size American home for those who are blessed to have a home, to own or rent a home, and a oversized 2-car garage, good size yard. Guess what? There's a lot of stuff. And what I found, I did not know this about myself until I started really downsizing, was I had what I'll jokingly but truthfully call trauma boxes. What I mean by that, as I was cleaning out, I found this huge box I'd never unpacked from 2004. 2004 was the year that my former husband and I divorced. I found the box of everything that I had shoved. There was unopened mail. It was like the moving out of the house box. I never went back to it. So I had to process those emotions, that grief. I also found some fun laughs in there. I mean, it was such an emotional roller coaster. I found 3 boxes from when I was laid off from a job in 2017, and again, had not processed all that. And I found a box from when my car was totaled, and I had a really upsetting car collision. And it was from cleaning everything out of that car that was totaled. So, my message to everyone is, for heaven's sakes, feel the feels. You've got to feel the emotion and then let it go. Don't be stuffing stuff away in these trauma boxes and shoving them in the garage, the basement, or the attic, because it means you've not processed your stuff.
I
But I can't wait to get in that new park model home and not only have freed up the space, but the time. I'm going to be able to clean my house in an hour, to have a utility bill that's $30 for my electric bill. I'm going to frame the first electric bill. And to be living more lightly on the earth, to not be having such an impact on earth. All those things are very, very just appealing and important to me. So I want to try this new adventure of the alternative lifestyle of going tiny.
I think that's great. Could you say that all this stuff that you had were actually physical representations of the baggage you've been carrying around with you?
Oh, that is so we don't have to do much dream symbolism around this, do we? It's definitely true. I had never in my life, because I moved like most Americans do, which is we have the good fortune to have either friends or professional movers moving us. And yes, you do a little cleaning out, you try and purge because you're going to be moving, but it's usually a very busy time. And uh, perhaps your professional movers, and it just all gets packed up. And likely many people are moving to bigger and bigger places. So this stuff just is accumulating more and more. I went through every sheet of paper I owned. I went through every piece of jewelry I owned. I mean, I cleaned out everything. I've never done that before in my life. And to do that, I just truly, truly set myself free. And I did not use professional movers. I had a lot of friends very kindly came and helped me because I got stuck at certain points, like the garage. The garage was overwhelming. So friends came and helped with that. Friends came and helped with my scrapbooking area because I didn't know what to do with all the family photos. So it just was like being lifted up and set free.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Oh, absolutely. So my website is my full name, wendyrosewilliams.com. And you'll see on the website an invitation to join me at an energy healing Q&A. So they're done as Zoom calls, they're group Zoom calls. And I'm currently running 3 of them every other week. So there's a choice of dates and times to account for different time zones. So please join me for one of those and see if I may be of service to you via energy healing services. And complimentary services include my podcast, which is wakingupspiritually.com. And there are over 50 episodes there. Can't begin to touch you, Jeff, with your wonderful, wonderful output.
Well, 50 is still a great number that you've achieved.
And a lot of them are energy healing tips and techniques and meditations, etc. So, and they're well indexed. It's a visual podcast like yours, Jeff. And I actually do them with a partner, Greg Kirk, and we do them as a PowerPoint to be able to show things to people. So you're certainly welcome to check that out. Please check out my author page, which is on Amazon. And you'll find my past life regression energy healing books there, Regression Healing 1 and the Flow 1, Plymouth Plantation, and Regression Healing 2, Joe and Marilyn will be coming out soon. So that's the best ways to reach me.
Are you posting your podcast on YouTube?
Yes, there is a YouTube for it also. Under Waking Up Spiritually, but go to wakingupspiritually.com and there you'll find it's the links to the podcast apps, it's the links to the YouTube. Absolutely.
That's great. Well, Wendy, before you finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Absolutely. I want everyone to know that there's not a coincidence. We happen to be recording this on July 4th on Independence Day, and it is time for everyone to just set themselves free and to just know that peace and harmony absolutely is going to be achieved on this planet in our lifetime. That is the number one reason I agreed to come back. And many of you may have seen the symbol of Mary Magdalene with the dove of peace. And just, again, there's just no coincidences. I love the privilege of living in the US. I'm actually Canadian, but there are some important differences between a country that's born via revolution, via a country that's born in peace. And that peace energy is why I am here. So know it and just feel it and just do your best to enjoy that, because so many people have expressed such concerns of, oh my goodness, is it ever going to get better? It just seems to get worse and worse. That's just because we're going through this big healing stage, and that's why so much is being uncovered, 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 and it hasn't been pretty or uplifting.
Thank you for that message, and thank you for being my guest.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, and thank you to your wonderful audience.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.